I never thought I'd sell the shop. 35 years of grease under my fingernails, and I figured I'd die with a wrench in my hand, just like my father before me. Martinez Auto Repair wasn't just a business. It was the place where Sarah and I built our life together, where she kept the books in that tiny office while I worked the bays, where our son Michael took his first steps across the oil-stained concrete floor. Sarah passed 4 years ago. Ovarian cancer. They found it too late, and within 6 months she was gone. After the funeral, I kept working because I didn't know what else to do. The shop became my refuge. The familiar smell of motor oil and the rhythmic clang of tools keeping the silence at bay. Our house felt too empty, but the shop still had life in it. Customers who'd been coming to me for decades, the radio playing classic rock, the satisfaction of fixing something broken and hearing an engine purr. Michael, our only child, had followed a different path. Marine Corps, then private security contracting overseas, good money, dangerous work. He'd married Nicole 8 years ago, a sharp woman with an MBA who worked in corporate consulting. They had a son, Tyler, who just turned 11, smart kid, curious about everything, already asking me how engines worked when he visited during summer breaks. Then Michael got deployed to Kuwait on an 18-month contract. High risk, high reward. Before he left, he called me from the airport. "Dad, I need to ask you something." His voice crackled over the connection. "Nicole's between jobs right now, and with me gone, she's going to have a lot of time on her hands. Would you mind if she helped out at the shop? Maybe handled some of the administrative stuff. Gave you a break?" I hesitated. Nicole had always been polite but distant, the kind of person who seemed uncomfortable around anything that required getting your hands dirty. But Michael sounded stressed. And what kind of father says no to helping his son's family? "Sure," I said. "She's welcome to help with the books, scheduling, that sort of thing." "Thanks, Dad. I know it's a lot to ask. Just keep an eye on Tyler for me, will you? Make sure he doesn't forget what his old man looks like." 3 weeks later, Nicole showed up at the shop wearing designer jeans and heels that clicked on the concrete. She surveyed the place with the expression of someone inspecting a condemned building. "Robert," she said. I'd always been Bob to everyone, but Nicole insisted on the full name. "We need to talk about the office situation. That desk Sarah used, it's falling apart." I looked through the window at Sarah's old oak desk, the one we'd bought at an estate sale 30 years ago. It had some scratches, sure, but falling apart? "It's solid," I said. "Just needs some polish." "It's outdated," she corrected. "I've ordered a new ergonomic workstation. Much more professional." The new desk arrived 2 days later, sleek and modern and completely soulless. Sarah's old desk ended up in the storage room, buried under spare parts. I wanted to object, but Nicole had already moved on to the next project, updating our computer system. "You're still using software from 2010, she said, shaking her head. "No wonder your profit margins are so thin. I'm implementing a new customer management system." Frank, my partner who'd worked with me for 20 years, raised an eyebrow when he saw Nicole typing away in the office. "Your daughter-in-law's really taking charge, huh?" he muttered while we worked on a transmission together. "Michael asked me to let her help," I said. "She's just trying to keep busy while he's deployed." "Uh-huh." Frank didn't look convinced. "Just make sure she remembers whose name is on the deed." The changes started small. Nicole replaced our handwritten service tickets with printed forms. She created a Facebook page for the shop without asking me. She updated our business cards, removing the tagline Sarah had written, "Honest repairs, fair prices, since 1988. "It's too wordy," Nicole explained. "Modern branding needs to be clean and simple." Each change felt like a small erasure, but I told myself it didn't matter. The important work happened in the bays, not on business cards. I kept my head down and focused on what I did best, fixing cars. Then Nicole started hiring. "I've brought on a marketing consultant," she announced one morning. "Her name is Jessica, and she's going to help us expand our customer base." "We have plenty of customers," I said. "Been the same families for years." Exactly, Nicole said, with that patient tone people use when explaining something to a child. You're stagnant. You need younger customers, people willing to pay premium prices for premium service. Jessica is going to help us rebrand. Jessica was a 20-something with bright ideas and no understanding of the auto repair business. She suggested we paint the shop in modern neutrals to replace the faded blue that had been there since my father's time. She wanted to install a coffee bar in the waiting area. She proposed we specialize in European imports because that's where the money is. We work on everything, I told Nicole. That's always been our strength. People know they can bring us anything from a '67 Mustang to a brand new Prius. That's the problem, Nicole said. You're trying to be everything to everyone. Successful businesses focus on a niche. I looked at Frank, who was carefully keeping his expression neutral. I'll think about it, I said. But Nicole didn't wait for me to think. The paint crew showed up the following Monday. I watched as they covered 35 years of history in bland gray. The old blue had been Sarah's choice. She'd said it reminded her of the sky on the day we opened. When Tyler visited for spring break, he barely recognized the place. "Grandpa, why does everything look different?" he asked, running his hand along the freshly painted wall. "Your mom's making some updates," I said. "But I liked it the way it was," he said quietly. "It smelled like Grandma's office." That hit harder than I expected. I'd been so focused on keeping the peace that I hadn't noticed how completely Nicole was erasing Sarah from this place. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was under a Chevy Silverado when I heard Nicole's voice echoing through the bay. "Everyone, can I have your attention? I've called a staff meeting." I rolled out from under the truck, wiping my hands on my coveralls. Frank and the two other mechanics, Danny and Luis, gathered around looking confused. We'd never had staff meetings. Nicole stood in the center of the shop with a presentation folder. "I've been analyzing our operations for the past 4 months," she began, "and I've identified several areas where we're hemorrhaging money. First, labor costs. We're paying above market rate for mechanics." "We pay fair wages," I interrupted. "These guys are skilled craftsmen. They're technicians," Nicole corrected, "and we can hire younger workers for significantly less." Frank's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything. "Second," Nicole continued, "we're wasting resources on unprofitable services, oil changes, basic maintenance. These are low-margin jobs that tie up our bays. We should be focusing on major repairs and restoration work." "Those oil changes bring customers in," I said. "They're how we build relationships. Mrs. Chen has been coming here for 20 years, started with oil changes, and now we handle all her family's cars." "Exactly," Nicole said. "You're stuck in this small-town mentality. We're in Portland, Oregon, not some rural backwater. There's real money to be made here, if you just modernize your thinking." Something shifted in that moment. I'd been patient, I'd been accommodating, but there was a line. "This is my shop," I said quietly. "Mine and Sarah's. These decisions aren't yours to make." Nicole's expression hardened. "Robert, let's be honest. This shop was failing before I got here. Your bookkeeping was a mess. Your customer base was shrinking, and you were bleeding money on inefficient operations. I've turned this business around." "The shop wasn't failing," Frank said, stepping forward. "We were doing fine. You were surviving," Nicole shot back. "There's a difference between surviving and thriving. I've increased revenue by 30% in 4 months. By cutting corners and raising prices," I said. "By running a professional business," she snapped. "Look, I didn't want to do this in front of everyone, but clearly you need to hear it. Michael and I have been talking. When his contract is up, we're moving back to Portland. He agrees that it's time for you to retire. You've had a good run, but you're 62 years old. This business needs younger leadership." The shop went completely silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. "Michael said that?" I asked. "He's concerned about you," Nicole said, her voice softening slightly. "He thinks you're working too hard, that it's time for you to enjoy your retirement. And he thinks, given everything I've done for this business, That when you do retire, the shop should be transferred to us. It's only fair. I looked around at the shop. The bays where I'd taught Michael to change a tire. The lift where Sarah used to bring me coffee every afternoon at 3. The corner where we'd hung our first dollar bill from a customer. All of it repainted, rebranded, transformed into something I no longer recognized. "Get out," I said. "Excuse me? Get out of my shop. You're fired." Nicole's face flushed. "You can't fire me. I'm family. You're an employee who just suggested firing my team and taking my business. Yeah, I can fire you. Get your things and leave." "Michael will hear about this," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "I'm sure he will," I said. "Tell him to call me when he gets a chance." Nicole grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels clicking sharply on the concrete. The door slammed behind her. Frank let out a low whistle. Well, that happened. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my living room with a beer, staring at old photo albums. Sarah and me on opening day. Michael as a toddler, covered in grease from helping me work. Christmas parties with the whole crew. The shop had been more than a business. It had been our family's heart. My phone rang at 11. Michael's name on the screen. "Dad, what the hell?" His voice was tight with anger. "Nicole called me in tears. She says you threw her out. Did she tell you why?" "She said she was trying to help modernize the business, and you refused to listen to reason." I took a long drink of my beer. "Son, did you tell her you wanted me to retire and sign the shop over to you two?" Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, we talked about it. "I mean, Dad, you're not getting any younger, and Nicole's really good at business. I thought maybe when I got back, we could work something out." "Work something out," I repeated. "Like me just handing over 35 years of work because your wife thinks she knows better? That's not fair," Michael said. "Nicole's been busting her ass trying to help you. She's increased your revenue by throwing out your mother's desk, repainting over her color choice, firing our loyal employees, and turning the shop into some corporate franchise. That's not help, son. That's a hostile takeover." "Mom's gone, Dad," Michael said, and there was an edge to his voice. "I loved her too, but you can't keep running a business like it's 1988. Things change. You have to adapt." "I've adapted plenty," I said. "We've got computerized diagnostics. We work on hybrid vehicles. We take credit cards instead of just cash. But some things shouldn't change, like treating people with respect, like remembering where you came from." "I can't do this right now," Michael said. "I'm 7,000 miles away dealing with actual life and death situations, and you're calling me about paint colors and old furniture." "No," I said. "I'm calling you about family, about legacy, about what actually matters. I'll talk to you later, Dad, when you've calmed down." He hung up. I sat there in the dark for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. Nicole had been right about one thing. I couldn't keep fighting these battles. Every day was another argument, another change, another piece of Sarah being erased. I was tired. The next morning, I called Frank and asked him to meet me for breakfast at the diner down the street. "I'm going to sell the shop," I said over coffee and eggs. Frank set down his fork. "Bob, don't make a rash decision because of one fight." "It's not rash," I said. "I've been thinking about it all night. Nicole's not going to stop. Michael's on her side. And honestly, I don't have the energy to keep fighting for something that's already been changed beyond recognition. So you're just going to give up? Let her win?" "No," I said. "I'm going to make sure the shop goes to someone who'll take care of it. Someone who understands what it's supposed to be." I spent the next week making quiet calls. The most interested buyer turned out to be Danny, my lead mechanic who'd been with me for 12 years. He'd been saving money, dreaming of owning his own place someday. "I can't afford to pay you what it's worth," Danny said when we sat down to talk numbers. "What can you afford?" He showed me his savings and what the bank would lend him. It was about 60% of the shop's market value. In a normal sale, I'd never accept it. But this wasn't a normal sale. "Done," I said. "On one condition. You keep Frank on, and you keep the name. Martinez Auto Repair. That means something in this community. Danny's eyes were wet. Mr. Martinez, I don't know what to say. Say you'll take care of it. That's all I need to hear. We shook hands, and I went to see my lawyer to draw up the papers. The whole transaction took 3 weeks. During that time, I didn't tell Nicole or Michael what I was doing. Let them think I was cooling off, that things would go back to normal. With the money from the sale, I did 3 things. First, I paid off my mortgage. Second, I set up a college fund for Tyler that would be worth about $150,000 by the time he turned 18. Third, I bought a good used truck and the tools to start a mobile mechanic service. Small jobs, house calls, working on my own terms. The day I signed the final papers, I felt a strange mix of grief and relief. I'd lost the building, but I'd saved what mattered. The integrity of the business, Frank's job, and my self-respect. That evening, I called Michael. I sold the shop, I said before he could start talking. You what? Sold it. To Danny Rodriguez. The deal closed today. He takes ownership next week. Dad, you can't just sell the business without talking to us. Nicole's been running that place. She's invested months of work. Nicole was an employee. I cut him off. The shop was mine to sell, and I sold it. It's done. Who's Danny Rodriguez? My lead mechanic. He's been with me for 12 years. He understands what the shop is supposed to be. I could hear Michael breathing hard. How much did you get? That's none of your business. It absolutely is my business. That shop is my inheritance. No, I said quietly. Your inheritance is the college fund I set up for Tyler. $150,000, untouchable until he's 18. That's what I'm passing on to the next generation. $150,000? The shop's worth at least $500,000. I sold it for what I thought was fair. The rest of the money is paying off my debts and funding my retirement. This is because of Nicole, isn't it? Michael's voice rose. You're punishing us because she tried to help. I'm protecting what your mother and I built, I said, and I'm making sure Tyler has opportunities. That's what parents do, son. Nicole's going to sue you, he said. She'll claim she's owed compensation for her work. Let her try. I've got a lawyer, and I've got documentation of every change she made without authorization. I also kept track of the money she spent without consulting me. Your wife racked up about $40,000 in unauthorized expenses. So if she wants to go to court, we can discuss who owes who. Silence. I can't believe you're doing this, Michael finally said. I can't believe you stood by while your wife tried to erase your mother and push me out of my own business, I replied. But here we are. I hung up before he could respond. Nicole did try to sue. Her lawyer sent threatening letters claiming she was owed back wages, compensation for business development, and emotional distress damages. My lawyer responded with an itemized list of every unauthorized purchase, every decision made without the owner's consent, and a reminder that she'd never had a formal employment contract, just a verbal agreement to help with administrative tasks. The lawsuit quietly disappeared after that. Tyler was the hardest part. Nicole didn't bring him around anymore, and my calls went to voicemail. I sent letters, emails, birthday presents. Nothing. Then, 6 months after the sale, on a Saturday morning, my doorbell rang. Tyler stood on the porch with a backpack. Grandpa? His voice cracked the way teenage voices do. Can I stay with you for a while? Of course, I said, pulling him into a hug. What happened? Mom and Dad are fighting. Like, really bad. Dad came home early from his contract, and they've been screaming at each other for 3 days. About you, about money, about everything. I just couldn't take it anymore. I called Nicole to let her know he was safe. She picked up on the first ring. Is Tyler with you? Yeah, he's here. Good, she said, and she sounded exhausted. Let him stay. Michael and I need to figure some things out. How long? I don't know, Robert. Maybe a while. Is that okay? He's always welcome here, I said. Tyler stayed for 3 months. During that time, I taught him about engines, let him ride along on my mobile service calls, showed him how to change oil and replace brake pads. He was a quick learner, asking smart questions, actually interested in understanding how things worked. "Mom says working with your hands is a waste of time," he said one day while we were replacing an alternator in a customer's driveway. "She says I should focus on getting into a good college for business or law." "Your mom values different things than I do," I said carefully. "That doesn't make either of us wrong. But I'll tell you this, there's dignity in being able to fix something that's broken. There's pride in doing quality work with your own hands. Don't let anyone tell you that's worthless." He nodded, tightening a bolt with the precise amount of torque I'd taught him. Eventually, Michael and Nicole separated. Not divorced, but living apart while they went to counseling. Michael rented a small apartment in town and started coming by to see Tyler. The first time, it was awkward. "Dad," he said, standing in my driveway, "can we talk?" We sat on the porch while Tyler was inside doing homework. "Nicole and I are in therapy," Michael said, "and my therapist asked me to think about what I really wanted versus what I thought I was supposed to want. And I wanted to make my wife happy. I wanted to prove I could provide for my family. I wanted to be successful." He paused. "But I never wanted the shop. That was always your thing, yours and Mom's. I joined the Marines because I wanted my own path." "I know that, son. But Nicole, she saw the shop as this asset, this opportunity, and she convinced me that helping you modernize it was the right thing to do, that we were securing our future." He shook his head. "I didn't see that she was pushing you out. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. She hurt you too," I said. "That's what I'm realizing. She made you feel like what I built wasn't good enough, that I wasn't capable. She put you in the middle." Michael's eyes were red. "I'm sorry, Dad. I should have listened to you. I should have protected what Mom built instead of letting Nicole tear it apart." "Your mother would have forgiven you already," I said. "She always said you had too big a heart to hold a grudge." We sat in silence for a while, watching the sun set over Portland. "The shop looks good," Michael said eventually. "I drove by yesterday. Danny kept the old sign. He's doing well. Hired 2 new guys, kept all the old customers." "Good," Michael said. "That's good." Tyler emerged from the house. "Dad, you staying for dinner?" Michael looked at me. I nodded. "Yeah, buddy," he said. "I'm staying." It's been 2 years now. Michael and Nicole eventually divorced, splitting custody of Tyler. She moved to Seattle for a corporate job. Michael took a less dangerous position doing security consulting locally, bought a house 20 minutes from mine. Tyler spends most weekends with me, learning the trade. He's decided he wants to study mechanical engineering in college, maybe come back and work with Danny at the shop someday. "Grandpa," he asked me last month, "do you regret selling the shop?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I regret how it happened. I regret the fight with your dad. But selling it to Danny? That was the right choice. He's keeping your grandmother's legacy alive better than I could have." "What do you mean?" "Your grandmother always said the shop wasn't about the building or even the business. It was about helping people, being part of the community, doing honest work. Danny gets that. He's living those values every day." Tyler nodded slowly. "Mom says you threw away a fortune out of spite." "Your mom sees the world through a different lens," I said. "She measures success in dollars. I measure it in whether I can sleep at night knowing I did right by people." "Which way is better?" "Neither," I said. "Both. The world needs people who are good at business and people who are good at building things. The trick is knowing which one you are and not letting anyone make you feel bad about it." Now I run my mobile service out of my truck, taking calls from people who can't make it to a shop. I charge fair prices, do honest work, and come home each night with grease under my nails and peace in my heart. The college fund for Tyler keeps growing. Danny sends me pictures from the shop sometimes. Customers' cars I used to work on, the old sign still hanging proud. My house isn't filled with memories of Sarah anymore. It's filled with new memories of teaching Tyler, of slow dinners with Michael where we talk about real things instead of arguing, of quiet mornings where I drink coffee on the porch and plan my day. A real legacy isn't a building. It's not a bank account or a business transferred from one generation to the next. A real legacy is the values you pass on, the skills you teach, the example you set about how to live with integrity. Sometimes you have to lose something to save what really matters. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. And sometimes walking away from a fight isn't surrender, it's wisdom. I never thought I'd sell the shop, but I'm glad I did. Because now Tyler knows what it means to build something worth keeping. And he learned it not from watching me hold on to the past, but from watching me choose what mattered most. That's a lesson worth more than any business could ever be.